All right, welcome back. Let's continue our discussion with the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, Dr. Blade Nzimande, who is also the country's Minister of Higher Education. Of course, Minister, welcome back. Now, let's look at what everyone has been talking about. The SACP's decision to contest the elections independently of the ANC. It's not a new resolution. It was taken back in 2007. What is different now?
What is different now is that we did not, unfortunately, fully implement this resolution in 2007 because we wanted to give a chance to a new leadership in the ANC and see if we can be able to do things differently than the issues that we had raised before. You would remember that at the time, we were waging very serious struggles, for instance, against privatization, against government's macroeconomic policy. And we thought that with the new leadership, maybe let's give that a chance to be able to see if the alliance can function better. Indeed, there were initial improvements, especially at national level, in the functioning of the alliance. But what is different now is that we've given this some kind of a time frame. To say we have taken the decision, but we also still want to go and consult widely, both inside and outside the alliance, so that we are able to get a better sense of how can we implement this decision, and also what is the state of the SACP in communities and everywhere. For instance, we want to have serious discussions with COSATU and other trade union formations, because we are not representing ourselves, we are actually representing the working class. So that is what is different, and we've said that we are going to be engaging, and then we'll give an initial report to our end of the year central committee, which we call the augmented central committee, because it's extended to our district leadership, who normally do not sit in the central committee. And then in the new year, we will actually assess whether we need to come together again with a full report to actually say then, how do we implement this decision that
so for
taken?
Now, there are no time frames.
There are no time frames at the moment. I'll tell you why, Palisa. You know, if truth be told, our country is in a very difficult situation at the moment. And the situation is very fluid, you know. We've been ranked by some rating agencies given junk status. Unemployment has not gone down, instead it has actually arisen. And we've got also this problem that is facing us, the immediate one, of these parasitic networks, mainly linked to the Gupta family, that are actually taking resources out of the state and causing enormous stresses inside the alliance itself and in the country generally. So it's a very complex period. We, as the Communist Party, can't just approach it in a mechanical way. We will need actually to be assessing on an ongoing basis. That is why one of the things we said at our Congress, we need flexibility in understanding what is going on and so on. So that we are not found being out of step, you know, as the SACP. We know also, by the way, that many people, even outside the Communist Party at the moment, are placing a lot of hope in what the Communist Party does, given the very complex period that we are facing. But
there are also reports, Dr. Nzimande, that in fact there was an agreement reached that the SACP should contest the 2019 elections, but you're waiting to see what happens at the ANC's elective conference in December.
No, we are not waiting to see what happens at the ANC's conference. That's why we've taken the decision that we've taken, reaffirming our resolutions of the 12th and the 13th Congress at this 14th Congress. But by saying so, we are also not blind to the fact that the ANC's conference in December, it's a hugely important event, not just for the alliance, for the country, for you and me as well, in terms of what happens, whether the ANC emerges united out of that conference or it emerges divided. We hope that it will actually be able to to unite itself and still be able to play the role that it has played in South African society. We are not blind to that. It's one of the factors, but it's not all the reasons why we have got to be actually having this roadmap. Another thing, Palis, is that we are in the middle of what we're calling an organizational review inside the SACP. You know, is the party having the right structures? You know, what kind of a cadre do we need in order to be able to play the kind of role that we need to play? That in itself led, for instance, to Congress to postpone amendments to the SACP constitution, to say we have to go through all this organizational renewal process. And then perhaps sometime next year, we are able to report back to the SACP and be able to take appropriate decisions about our own future.
Yeah, I just want to go back quickly because we left with just less than a minute. There were also reports that there are informal talks between the SACP, some trade unions and the ANC veterans for the formation of another political party, depending again on what happens at the ANC's elective conference in December.
No, what we have resolved as the SACP is that actually South Africa at this point in time, going forward, needs a broad front of popular forces, both inside and outside the alliance, to be able to mobilize our people, to defend our country, to defend our democracy, to actually fight corruption. In fact, the party has been of the view that we had always needed this, even if the ANC is in power, so that we have actually got people's power as an independent check and balance on the ruling party and be able to vitalize all the time the ruling party itself. That we are committed to actually building, irrespective of the conditions that we're going to be facing.
So it doesn't really matter for the SACP who comes out victorious at the conference, because the reports are saying that you're looking at the deputy president, of course, succeeding President Jacob Zuma. If it happens that Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma wins the elective conference, then the SACP will then form that political party and contest the elections on their own.
Well, we haven't really raised names. You know, we hope that the ANC will be able to conduct its Congress in a manner that actually unites us.
Yeah.
In as far as we are concerned as the SACP, is that we are not going to be putting our eggs into one basket. That's why we are looking at ourselves. You know, we hope the ANC comes out better. But what we are not prepared to actually is to be in an alliance with a faction. We think that the time is over.
Yeah.
And also we want the alliance to function differently now, moving forward, if we are to be able to consolidate the gains that we have made over the last 23 years.
All right, just a quick one now, Dr. Nzimande. It is also said that former President Thabo Mbeki wrote you a letter last week challenging you to actually back your statement, the claims that you made that what is happening under President Jacob Zuma now actually happened under his presidency. What was the letter all about?
Well, it was an open letter, and we did respond to that letter. There were a number of things that we were unhappy about at that time, some 10, 12 years ago. For instance, we felt that the ANC was being turned into some kind of a parliamentary party, which is the problem we are facing now, that with the ANC, unfortunately, is unable to relate to people on an ongoing basis. By the way, that's why you need a front, so that you can have this dynamic relationship between the ANC as the ruling party and the people. There are changes also. There are things that are different. We went through, for instance, a terrible period of AIDS denialism in the past, which, by the way, under President Zuma changed, and there is an improvement because we are actually providing antiretrovirals. But we don't want to be defocused by that.
Yeah.
We want to go out and implement the resolutions that we've actually taken as the SAC.
All right. And in terms of the motion of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma that will take place next month, what's the SACP's views? And of course, many people are calling to the SACP and their members of parliament and the ministers, including you, to step down to show that you're actually serious about the state of affairs in South Africa.
Look, our view is that this matter needs to be sorted out by the ANC. We have stated our view that we feel that President Zuma has become a liability to the movement, to the country. Ideally, that's where this issue should be resolved.
So is the SACP for or against the secret ballot?
No, we have actually not discussed that. We'll discuss that closer to the time. We'll be guided by the ANC, but also we'll be guided by what the South African Communist Party says. when the time comes.
All right. Dr. Nzimande, let's leave it at that. I still have like thousands of questions, but time constraints. Thank you so much for having spoken to us on Morning Live, and speedy recovery, of course.
Next time. Thank you very much.
There's always a next time. Thank you so much. Well, Dr. Blade Nzimande is the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, talking to us about a whole range of issues, including, of course, the state of alliance within the SACP, COSATU, and the ANC itself. Let's take a break here on Morning Live. When we come back, 7 o'clock news bulletin.